Your 1-year-old son will probably never see his 10th birthday. These were the words my parents heard on the day I was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis in 1982. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disease that causes thick, sticky mucus to build up in the lungs, digestive tract, and other areas of the body. It's a life-threatening disorder that usually results in the need of a lung transplant later in life. They say if you want to know what it feels like, try plugging your nose and breathing through a cocktail straw at the same time. My doctor went on to say, it's natural to want to protect your son, but you need to let him live his life. He'll tell you what he can or can't do. Thanks to these words, my parents let me begin dancing at age 6. I started out with a pure love and fascination of the art, and later discovered it was actually extending my lifespan. Through dance, I was able to break up and expel the thick mucus that built up in my lungs. This was the first time dance saved my life, but it wouldn't be the last. I'm 33 years old now, and I've lived 2 very different lives. One, an ambitious dancer, performing nationally and internationally for various audiences. And the other, a dying addict, struggling to survive while watching his body quickly deteriorate. By my senior year of high school, I accumulated quite a few awards, including the 1999 Music Center Spotlight Award for Modern Dance. Spotlight was amazing. It's a contest that invites 2 out of about 700 artists in dance to compete and perform for a scholarship at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion in Los Angeles. I remember stepping onto that stage for the first time in rehearsal, and I'm looking out into this massive theater, 3 balconies high, filled with empty seats, and all I could think is, how is this little body going to fill this entire theater? And the secret is what my dad has always told me: just make the audience happy. For most spotlight artists, it's a sample of the top-level international venues where they will one day perform. That is not my story. In the summer of 2001, I attended the Jacob's Pillow Modern Dance program. This is the instructor, Milton Myers, a legend in the dance world. On the last day of the program, he comes to me and he says, "Adam, we need to talk. You could be one of the best. If you want, I will make a phone call today, and tomorrow you will have a full scholarship to the Ailey School or Juilliard School in New York." I couldn't believe it. Now, my doctors had always told me not to go to New York because that lifestyle would be way too hard on my sick body. So even though it was very tempting, I had to pass on Mr. Myers' offer. And it's a good thing I did. It wasn't long before my terminal illness started to take its toll. I was hospitalized for the first time at age 20. This is when I started to abuse the pain medications I took for chronic sinus headaches. It was becoming clear that my dance career was going to be cut short due to my deadly disease, and that terrified me. My illness started to weigh heavily on my friends, my family, and my wife. By the age of 25, I could no longer hide my disease. I couldn't run out of the studio quick enough to cover my coughs. I ran out of excuses for the endless amount of absences, and I just couldn't keep up with my peers. Dance became so hard, I started to despise it. I hated my disease for making me feel that way. The culmination of my physical limitations came in the spring of 2006. I was hired by my mentor, David Allen, to reprise a role in his ballet entitled Fiesta, which is infamous for being, we'll say, extremely taxing. In this video, I was 18 years old. It was my first performance of Fiesta, and I had a lung capacity of 60%. I was now 25, and my lung capacity had fallen to 35%. I barely made it through the bows. I remember standing there, waiting for that curtain to come down, and as soon as that touched the floor, my legs gave out from underneath me and I collapsed to the floor. I was stuck in the center of the stage for several embarrassing minutes until a tech guy came in and said, "I'm sorry, but we need to change the set for the next piece." I couldn't get up. So I used my arms to slowly crawl my way towards the wing, leaving a snail trail of sweat and defeat behind me. I was done. My life as a dancer was over. My life as a dying man was just beginning. Within a few months of retirement, I was reliant on oxygen 24 hours a day. I became a regular in the hospital. I was now aggressively abusing pain medications when I fell into a deep depression. Dilaudid, morphine, Vicodin, whatever I could get my hands on, as long as I didn't have to feel the emotional debilitating pain and loss from my disease. I was on a self-destructive path and stuck inside this body that was rapidly shutting down. I barely left my bedroom because I didn't want people to see me with my oxygen tank. I honestly thought it was a sign of failure. For the first time, I wanted to die. After 3 years of this suicidal behavior, dance once again saved my life. I was contacted by a professor at Riverside City College named Mark Hayes. He told me my name kept coming up and he wanted to choreograph a solo on me. I said, "I'm sorry, but I'm on oxygen." And he replies, "I know, I want to use that in the piece." Now, to be honest, my initial reaction as a stubborn competitive artist was, "Damn it, that's brilliant, that should have been my idea." I was sold. I didn't want to be high, so I stopped using, and I went to the gym every single day, oxygen tank and all, so I could be in the best shape possible. In December 2009, I performed Now Breathe with a 50-foot line of oxygen tubing and a body mic, so you could hear my breathing during the performance. It was very therapeutic. It was a reminder that even though I tried to shut it out, dance was still very much a part of my life, and I still had a lot to say with my artistic voice. This was the first time my two conflicting lives had met. The dying man had inspired the dancing man. I knew at this point that they would both play an important role in my life. Unfortunately, afterwards, it wasn't long before my drug abstinence period ended, and I was right back where I left off, in depression. After thousands of pills, 3 overdoses, and several relapses, my wife finally left me. I was trying to get on the lung transplant list at UCLA, and that same week, my doctor says to me, "Adam, if you relapse again, don't bother coming back. They're never going to give lungs to an addict who keeps relapsing." My parents told me I was no longer welcome to live in their home until I was clean. I had officially found my bottom. I remember thinking to myself, how did I get here? I mean, shouldn't I be touring the world right now with a prestigious ballet company? I was single, strung out, homeless, hopeless, and dying. Thank God for that. I may have never gotten clean otherwise. So the next day, I checked myself into rehab, and I immediately get involved in a 12-step program to start changing my life for the better. One small step at a time. For the first time, I took a white newcomership at a 12-step meeting. I asked a man named Ron to sponsor me because he looked like he had something I wanted. Peace. When I got out of rehab, I went to 3 meetings a day. I worked the steps, and I called my sponsor every single day. See, I never thought I could be happy without dance. It was the only thing that slowed down the racing thoughts in my head and made me feel higher than any drug ever could. So after working some of the 12 steps, I took a personal moral inventory of myself and identified many character defects. And I started to find happiness again. I realized I had wasted way too much time on self-pity. No, I couldn't change the fact that I was in pain, but I could choose whether or not to suffer. I was dying, but I wasn't dead. On August 1st, 2011, I took the 1-year clean sheet. The old Adam I thought had been lost in a pill bottle forever was still alive and well. The next month, I get on the 1 transplant list for blood type A. And they tell me, you'll probably have to wait about 6 months before you get the call. 6 months go by, 8 months, 10 months. After a year of holding my breath, no phone call. At 16 months, UCLA said, Adam, you're now at the top of the A-list. Sweet, I said. Top of the A-list? I'm just like Clooney. You don't have to laugh. They didn't laugh either, but I thought it was fun. I was #1 on the list now, and they said to expect the call within the next 30 days. As you can imagine, I was so ready for this call. 3 months later, I'm in the hospital, and they tell me I've been bumped to #7. This was a death sentence. By April 2013, I'd been on the list for 20 months. Still in my #7 position, I had reached a point of utter indifference. My lung capacity was now at 20%, and I was barely hanging on. If I was breathing through a cocktail straw before, I was now breathing through a coffee stirrer. At this point, Mary, my girlfriend of 5 months, says to me, don't think I don't see you giving up. I, of course, pretend not to know what she's talking about, even though this is the first time since I got clean that I wanted to give up and die, but my body wouldn't stop fighting. Mary went on. Look, if you want to give up on life, that's up to you, but don't expect me to stick around for that. It was time to make a change. She left me alone with my thoughts, and I screamed at God at the top of my lungs. Why is life so unfair? Why gift me with this ability to dance if you're only going to take it away and kill me? With each scream came a little relief. And by the end, I felt better, and I told Mary I was ready to keep fighting. I didn't know how much time I had left, but I decided to stop wasting it waiting for that stupid phone to ring. And wouldn't you know it? On May 30th, 2013, I was on my way to the Thursday night recovery meeting when I received the most important phone call of my life. After being on oxygen for almost 8 years, I was getting new lungs. It happened so fast. I get the call at 5:30 p.m. We arrive at UCLA at 7:30, and I'm on the operating table by midnight. After a 6.5-hour surgery, I wake up in tremendous pain. I now know what a 10 feels like on that 1 to 10 pain scale the doctors always ask me about. I don't remember a lot from those first few days waking up, but I remember my first walk. UCLA makes sure you take your first walk within 48 hours of surgery. As the nurse was preparing, she explained, for your first walk, use a walker while we hold you up with a belt. I told her I didn't need any of that, and she said, but we've never had a transplant patient take their first walk unassisted. Well, you're about to, I told her. Once again, Ballet's to the rescue. I think I have 20 years of dance classes to thank for this one. It was a promising start to a scary and uncertain future. After 17 days, I came home without oxygen, 50 new pills a day, and a slew of new rules for living, including no tattoos or tap water or sushi ever again. Seriously, no sushi? A small price to pay for the ability to breathe, I suppose. Life since transplant has not been easy. Over the last 12 months, I've spent over 6 months cumulatively in the hospital. In fact, I just got out yesterday. I begged my doctor last night to give me an early discharge so I could be here today. In April 2014, this year, I died and was resuscitated. I woke up with kidney failure, so the doctors couldn't administer antibiotics for my pneumonia. Everyone thought I was going to die for good this time. I was on pain medication because I just had sinus surgery number 8 and an appendectomy. I thought I was going to die, and I wasn't sure I wanted to be clean and coherent with a front row seat as I approached death. I should have picked up the phone and talked to my sponsor about my fears. I didn't. It was only a matter of time before I was taking more pills than prescribed. On May 20 this year, I took the white newcomer chip for the second time in my life. After almost 4 years clean, I had relapsed. I thought I was a failure. My sponsor said, "Adam, you need to change your perspective. You haven't failed until you've given up. You were willing to return and start back from zero to better your life. That's not failure. Not coming back, not taking that white chip, staying out there in misery until your addiction kills you, that's failure." Sometimes we just need to redefine what the word means to us. Slowly but surely, every aspect of my life has gotten better. I'm much healthier now. I have almost 5 months clean. My lung capacity is at 90%. It's never been that. And I'm living with Mary, an amazing woman whom I love very much. And she's a masseuse. That's the dream, right? So I try to make injuries and pull muscles as much as I can. But the most exciting news, this footage was taken 10 days ago. After almost a decade of setbacks, I found my way back to the Ballet bar. I'll be returning to the stage in the summer of 2015. I'm currently working on a project about my life, working with some really talented people, including Mark Haynes, who choreographed Now Breathe. There was some debate recently over whether or not to include my recent relapse into the story of the show. I insisted on it. It's an important reminder that our work in life is never done. We never arrive, we never reach a finish line. I'll always be a recovering addict, never a recovered addict. The first 2 acts of my life have been drastically different. What will this post-transplant third act look like? I don't know. What I do know is that no matter what challenge lies ahead, I can choose whether or not to be happy. I just need to be willing to do the work. I must go to meetings. I must work the steps. I must take all my medications. I must be compliant with my doctor's directions. I must be honest with my sponsor at all times. Seems like a lot of work, but it starts right here. Day 1. Just for today. Improving ballet technique is about making small tweaks and adjustments to the way we approach movement. Life is no different. For me, these changes have been something as simple as sitting up in bed when extremely ill. At other times, it was to finish a 90-minute workout after my daily recovery meeting. These small victories soon became big victories, and before I knew it, this hopeless junkie on oxygen was clean, breathing with new lungs, and dancing again after a 10-year-long hiatus. I started with pliés, and eventually, I get to pirouettes. When I'm feeling overwhelmed, I take a deep breath to remind myself how far I've come. And I remember, even the tiniest step towards change is the right